All right, let's get the show on the road. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Torn Tuesday, your weekly dose of all things Lord of the Rings. My name's Justin.
And my name's Clifford, right here on the OneRing.net. Welcome, all of you Hobbit lads and lasses, coming all the way across the airwaves, right here into my living room. Isn't it lovely? Justin, we have quite a packed show here for all the fans of the Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion, and more conversations about what's going on with Season 2 of Prime Video's The Rings of Power. We've got news, we've got mischief. Welcome aboard.
And we've got a special guest with us joining us right now.
We actually have a special guest right now, yes.
Vice President of an actual movie studio's Legion M, Mr. David Baxter.
Hey, everybody. Great to be here, as always. Love my association with the One Ring. It's been many, many years, and I remember when you were all young.
We were all young.
No.
Yes,
we never were.
Well, we were younger. Well, I know it's been at least 20 years since I've seen Return of the King in a theater, and I'm going to be going tomorrow for my birthday. I'm so excited.
Oh my gosh! Happy birthday!
Wow, I didn't know. Happy birthday! It's your birthday tomorrow. Wow.
It is. But I've been following what's been going on with Return of the King because my company Legion M was involved in setting the whole thing up with the wonderful folks at Lost Odyssey and Fathom. We were sort of the matchmaker in the deal, and for me, this is it's the best of all worlds. I love seeing the trilogy up on the big screen, and I have never seen the extended edition up on the big screen. Yeah. And I know that there was a screening last Thursday that was so successful that it actually outgrossed the Ben Affleck movie Air and the Nick Cage movie Renfield.
Wait, so 20 years later, and Nike and Dracula still are not as popular as Lord of the Rings.
Although I will say, I think Mario beat out everybody. So there you go. Whatever you want to take from that. But I'm super excited about seeing it. There are so many. The extended edition is just, I mean, I've seen it many, many times, but it is just so much fuller. You just really get this kind of different feeling. But I'm curious because I know that both of you guys went to see it last Thursday. And if I'm not mistaken, you went with the both the executive producer and the co-producer of Lord of the Rings, which would be Mark Ordesky and Rick Porras. Is that correct? Were they in the audience?
They were in the audience along with most of the Lost Odyssey D&D players, including Reggie Watts, including all of the actors.
Luke Gygax, son of Gary Gygax, co-creator.
I sat next to Luke Gygax, the creator of D&D, son. Yeah. And right in front of me was the actress from Daredevil.
No.
What was her name?
Deborah
Wall.
No, right? I don't think so. I think she's in a play out in.
Someone that looked like her. TJ Miller. TJ Power. Yeah. So it was wonderful. And then to our
Storm. Excuse me.
TJ Storm.
TJ Storm. Amazing actor who just recently played Godzilla. He's taken after Andy Serkis.
That's right. He played Godzilla. And the effects were done by Jim Rigel from Lord of the Rings. Cliff, I think we had surprised Matt, Nerd of the Rings, was in town. He was on the show last week, and suddenly we're in the lobby of the theater, and Mark Ordesky and Rick Porras there. What was his reaction, Cliff?
That was really quite funny. It was just a couple of hours before we got to the theater that I was at Galaxy's Edge with Matt, Nerd of the Rings, helping him build a really elvish design of a lightsaber, a custom lightsaber. And then a couple hours later, bam, he's surprised, very surprised, to see that he's face-to-face with Mark Ordesky and Rick Porras, who were very kind to just relax in the lobby. And we got some popcorn. We were getting drinks and talking as friends. And it was a great moment of like the meeting of the newest generation of YouTube content creators meeting with Mark Ordesky and Rick, who, the guys who worked so hard decades ago to bring that to fulfillment, that amazing trilogy of films that they worked so hard on back then. And
well, and there's another little ditty, is that I believe that Rick, who helped finish up the extended edition, and by that time Peter was already on to King Kong.
Yeah,
I think this was the first time that he saw it since he did like the final sound mix on that. I don't think he only saw it in whatever theater they were doing that work on. He'd never seen it with an audience.
That's right.
Now, David,
and it was a full house. We have to say, make no mistake, there was a full auditorium. There were so
around
many
the country.
People.
I mean that.
Yeah.
David, you were watching the receipts come in as part of the team that putting this event together. Are the numbers bigger than anyone expected?
Yes, I mean you have to understand this was originally only slotted. I don't know if I can say this. We thought we would be on like maybe 400 screens, and then due to advanced sales, which by the way we hadn't even advertised it. The news broke. Was it on IGN? I can't remember where the news broke, where somebody figured out that there was going to be these screenings at certain theater chains, and people started buying up tickets, and so.
And then we further amplified that news here at the OneRing.net. And boy, howdy, what happened then?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, guys. Your amplification was critical. And we were lucky enough to have the amplification of Sir Ian McKellen, which I don't think hurt anything. But we ended up in more than 1,000 theaters. We added a second date, which is coming up tomorrow. And then we ended up adding dates all between the two of them. So it's actually going to be playing until Thursday night, until the 20th. If you go to fathomevents.com and put in your zip code, you should be able to find a theater if you're in the United States or Canada. Unfortunately, and to me, it's a big loss, is I think there's a worldwide desire to see this. And frankly, to see all of the movies, the extended editions, it's sort of like Nicholas Nickleby. Let's do like a day of just watching these movies.
Right.
We can all hand out, adult Depends, adult diapers.
Some people on Twitter were complaining that there was no DVD intermission when watching the extended edition in theaters. Now, David, this is Legion M, your film studio. This is the second time you've been involved in the Lord of the Rings project. You guys were on board with the Tolkien movie starring Nicholas Hoult.
Yes, we were. We have a good relationship with, at the time it was Fox Searchlight, now it's just Searchlight. And when we found out about Tolkien, we just thought it would be a natural to go out to all the fan communities. And once again, OneRing.net stepped it up. And in fact, Fox gave us about 200 seats to the premiere. And I happen to have a relationship with George R. R. Martin, who is a huge Tolkien fan. And we asked if he might want to come out and, run the Q&A and to do a little talk. And he agreed. And so on that red carpet, we had Lily Collins and Nicholas Hoult and George R. R. Martin. And we had a ton of ringers and people dressed in appropriate Tolkien garb. It was quite a night to remember.
And we are excited to tell everybody that if you didn't catch Return of the King in theaters, David here helped allow us to play the OneRing.net trailer, a trailer for this community that you saw at the top of the show. I cleaned it up a little bit for the big screen, but it's we have a trailer on the big screen in front of every showing of Return of the King this weekend, including tomorrow nights. So thank you, David.
Did we lose Cliff in some? I saw Cliff making motions like he was talking.
I'm here. No, actually, I just wanted to I wanted to remind everyone, maybe I just wanted to remember myself, because David, you brought back such memories of being on the green carpet at the Arrival at the Tolkien film, interviewing director Dome Korakovsky,
It was
and
amazing.
interviewing Mr. Holt. And oh boy, did Mr. Nicholas Holt want to talk about that old Decipher card game when he played Lord of the Rings card game, like we all did a couple of decades ago. And it was really delightful talking to him. What a great day that was. I loved hearing it. Loved being there. And thank you for putting all that together. Let me ask you this, David, because Justin, just last week, Justin and I were speculating about the idea that Warner Brothers Discovery might do a massive worldwide re-release of the film later this year based upon the enthusiasm of what's going on right now.
Well, I think, we have to wait till all the cards have been shuffled and dealt. So I think what happens tomorrow is going to have an impact on that. So I would say that if there's anybody who wants to go, walk-up traffic is really appreciated. And, the more that people know that the suits at Warner Brothers know that this is a absolutely viable thing. I mean, look, if James Cameron can release Titanic every year and keep adding to the box
and Star Wars is getting re-released this month.
That's right. There's going to be a re-release of Star Wars. So I think quality rises to the top. And I think what Peter, Fran, and Philippa and the entire team achieved with the Lord of the Rings trilogy is just, I don't think it can ever be repeated in the sense of what happened and when it happened. The world was changed after that, and that's it. So to me, this is just going to be a gem that travels through the ages. At some point, somebody's going to redo Lord of the Rings. I mean, I believe the Embracer now controls ultimately the film and television rights, which it has sold at least to Amazon for certain things. I think we've got a lot of exciting stuff coming up. This is a great time to be a Tolkien fan. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff, and it's super exciting.
Well, I'm so happy that Legion M, which is a equity crowdfunded movie studio, like you're owned by
fans.
And funded by fans. The fact that you've been involved in Tolkien movie and now a Lord of the Rings re-release, hopefully this inspires Warner Brothers to maybe go big with it. And David, we know you're a busy man, but thank you so much for coming in and giving us the box office report. And thank you for bringing Torn in to play a trailer in front of the movie across the nation. This has been a real treat.
You guys are the best. The Tolkien community and the OneRing.net community is really, to me, one of the great fan communities of all time. And in my day-to-day business, I encounter fans from all the different fan groups. But Tolkien, the best. They speak Elvish. What more do you want? All right, guys. Take care.
Thanks, David. We'll see you.
Bye.
Thanks again.
Thank you so much, David. It's been great to have you.
Bye.
All right, and there it is. So get your tickets tonight or tomorrow for tomorrow's final showing. Moving on, it is reported as of this week, the Gollum game has gone gold. What does that mean? It means it has been finished, it is mastered, and the Gollum game is coming to consoles and PC very, very soon. This is the first official game to be released under the Embracer banner, and it is produced by Daedalic Entertainment. Of course, Middle Earth Enterprises is on the thing, and we have, check this out. Let's go here. This is all of the editions of the Lord of the Rings Gollum game. As you can see, there is a precious edition, which includes an art exhibition, a lore compendium, an original 17-track orchestral soundtrack, and Sindarin VO, actual Elvish voice acting.
Whoa,
Cliff,
that's
has this
really
ever
cool.
Has this ever been offered in in a game or
No,
a thing?
I've never seen this kind of variance offered in a video game release ever. And I've done voiceover previously for a Lord of the Rings video game that was put out by Universal. This is remarkable. Look at this. They're adding to the complexity. Maybe they're adding to the confusion of what the consumers are going to get their hands on. So maybe we need to figure out what the difference is between these editions. Like, check this out.
Well, here it is. The special edition comes with the Sindarin VO DLC, which adds a touch of authenticity to the dialogue with the elves. I expect that it will still be subtitled, but you can play as Gollum.
No, you're expected to know if Gollum's wandering around, he's expected to know what people are saying, right?
Does Gollum speak Sindarin?
No.
Okay.
But
all right.
He was held captive by the elves in Mirkwood for a time. So I'm assuming that the elves just reverted to using the common tongue to speak with him when they had captured him. But wow, what an idea. What an idea. This is kind of cool to have these different premium versions of the video game. But my question is, can I play it on a Mac? That is what I want.
You would definitely not be able to play it on a Mac, but Cliff, given the choice, I don't know what the price point is, but for $20 extra, is it worth the soundtrack, the art book, the lore book, and Sindarin VO? Do you think that's a worthy upsell?
Well, you're asking somebody who can't even play it. All right. I would have to run a desktop simulator to be able to play this game, and I probably will. But yeah, you know what? I need to take a closer look, but it sounds like all those extras are really cool, and I think I'd be down for something like that.
If the game had hired you, if a future game hires you as a voiceover, like you were in Ask Sam Gamgee, could you do both an English voice and Sindarin?
Sure, I could speak in Khuzdul. I could do the soundtrack in Khuzdul. I'll do it all in Sindarin, and I'll even sprinkle in some Quenya if you want me to do that. You name it, I'll do it.
All right. Well, this game has been in development long before Embracer bought it, but Embracer is a video game company, and I'm sure they have been able to help with some development resources. Again, remember, this game was pushed back from last year. So we anticipate that the Embracer folks, because they are a video game company at their core, were able to put a little extra polish, probably added the Sindarin voiceover download. Nice. So it's exciting. And I don't know, at some point, I'm kind of extended. I wonder if they should have called it the extended edition, Gollum Game Extended Edition, with the extra VO.
If it has only an extended edition if it has more gaming environments, more puzzles, more monsters, interactions, and more of an actual narrative to play. That's the only reason, they'd sell a different one. But then again, the whole point of some of these games is that everybody gets the chance to play through the same game, unless you get to those kinds of platforms where they say pay X amount of money and then you can get access to other areas. I'm glad
we've heard some like folks. We've heard some beta testers of the game say the Gollum game will be family friendly. It'll be great for younger gamers as well.
Okay,
maybe not promising. Roblox young, but it's going to be fun. This isn't a Fortnite game. This isn't Minecraft. But this also isn't Call of Duty. It's Gollum in a new version, a new adaptation of Gollum. It's not Andy Serkis. It's just going to be a fun game for the whole family. I believe it's only single player, but we're looking forward to it. Moving on. One of our most prolific leakers on our Discord, Drew Halbrand, is reporting that Season 2, Episodes 1 and 3 will be directed by Charlotte Brandstrom. who is from season 1. Remember, she did the volcano
Yes.
episodes.
That's right.
And season 1 and 3 star Ben Daniels, Sam Hazeldine, and Will Keane. Now, remember, Sam is replacing Joseph Mal as Adar. We have previously reported that Will Keane may be Feanor and his Silmarils. The question is who Ben Daniels will be. There is a lot of flutter on our Discord and Twitter that he could be Anatar.
Oh, really? In one of his new forms? Hmm?
So again, Drew Halbrand is reporting that episode 1 and 3 of season 2, both directed by Charlotte Brandstrom. The main story point will be Adar, will be Feanor, and will be this guy who we don't know who he plays. So, Cliff, I wanted to ask you, based on his looks, everyone thinks this could be a tall, thin, evil-looking Anatar. But based on the lore, Cliff, what would Adar, an invented character, Feanor, and what other character do you think would have a storyline together?
I think we should try a soft vowel sound of Adar instead of Adar. It's Adar. Okay.
All right.
The difference between Nevada and Nevada.
Fine. I get it. I'm sold.
So I'm teasing you now. Okay. But the question about how these storylines could interconnect, well, I'm curious to see that Halbrand, we've already seen as Charlie Vickers. Are we going to see something where Charlie Vickers goes through a transformation or a wave of a hand and suddenly is a different person?
No, it's more of a Horcrux thing, maybe.
I mean, yeah, but I don't know. How are they going to visualize it? That Charlie Vickers might suddenly, maybe the camera moves and then suddenly, it's a different actor and he's now a new form. So what they want to do is something like that, to establish clearly that Charlie Vickers is not going to be the only physical manifestation of Sauron, as he's, a bipedal, walking, talking humanoid walking around Middle-earth, and that he will take on other forms. So I'm really intrigued how creatively they're going to visualize that transformation. I mean,
Dan Edwards in the chat room brings up a good point. Given Rings of Power multiple plot points, these 3 actors may not even be interacting, which is quite possible. Cliff, I mean, if we look at it again, that Feanor could not possibly be sharing a scene with Adar, and Adar. How did you want me to say it?
Adar
yes. may or may not share a scene with who might or might not be Anatar. So, I guess
at the end of season one, Adar was just being held captive by Galadriel and the Southlanders and the Númenóreans who helped reestablish the Southland village. Is that right? Was he just left there in their captivity?
He was just left there. Some people in the chat room and on our Discord all week have been thinking that Ben Daniels could be Anarion. But Cliff, based on the entire casting of the entire show, I think this guy is way too old to be Anarion.
He is, but that is an important character yet to come on stage.
Yeah, but based on the other casting, he's not this old.
No, he's not. He's no. Look at how young and boyish, dare I say, look at how young and boyish they did the casting for Isildur. Check it out.
Right. And Anarion is younger than Isildur?
Oh, yes, perhaps. I'm not sure. But they're only a few years apart, really, I think.
Right. So anyway, and also following up on that, again, Charlotte Brandstrom we're talking episodes 1 and 3. Previously, we've reported that season 2 of Rings of Power will be a little more television friendly. Each episode will be self-contained and tell a complete plot point. None of this meandering 3 episodes and nothing happens. So supposedly in season 2, it's been written and structured in such a way where every episode. So it would make sense for Charlotte to do episode 1, tell that story. Another director is doing episode 2, tell that story. Charlotte returns to tell a different story, episode 3. So
you're hearing news in the rumor mill that they're approaching a more episodic kind of, idiomatic style.
It's one thing that we hope that they learned from the absolute failure of season 1's 37% finish rate. Other news, Redanian intelligence, who have been pretty good at the scoops, are reporting that Yazen Atur, who is Cohen in the Witcher TV show, plays a character codenamed Hurst in season 2 of Rings of Power. Again, the character of Cohen in the Witcher show is now a character, a named character in season 2 of Rings of Power. If he has a code name, that means he has a real name in the show. So this means that when Amazon told us 3 weeks ago that Ciaran Hinds was the final casting announcement, it doesn't mean they're done casting yet.
I think it's Kieran with a K.
Kieran with a... Man, I'm just blowing every single...
It is spelled with a C, but think of Celeborn and think of Celebrian. I think the letter C followed by a vowel with that kind of linguistic...
Kieran, like Kieran Culkin, not Sheeran like Ed Sheeran.
Yep, gotcha. Yeah.
All right.
Follow that rule and you'll be all right.
So this guy, so Redanian's intelligence is this is a main character. We have no idea who, what, or where. Most importantly, where this character would be in. So,
and that brings us back to our previous point. Why wouldn't marketing? Why wouldn't the Prime Video people think about the value added to the fandom to get them more worked up and interested by saying deliberately, this is a character, this is someone you know, or this is someone you do not know, but this is their placement in the Middle Earth history timeline, at least the timeline that they're working with, which is a terribly squished timeline. But they'd give us enough clues.
Look, we've talked about this, and I wish they would have learned their lesson from last time. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like they have yet. So, Cliff, let's game this out. You're Amazon, and you're scared of the fans maybe getting a little uppity about you announcing all these fake characters that aren't in the book. So why would you announce all of these made-up characters?
Because the speculation is not as helpful to getting pre-release enthusiasm as they think it is. That's the key.
That's right. And that's the whole point. We are not a fandom that enjoys this game. Other fandoms might, but we're not. We're not. It's not fun. It's not interesting. And it actually, I think, hurts the show rather than coming out the gate saying, hey, we're introducing you to this wonderful actor from these wonderful shows that you might have watched. He's playing this character name who hails from this land. And we look forward to you finding out more about this wonderful character.
Yep, bingo.
It's that easy.
That would go miles further in generating fan enthusiasm.
Right. And at this point, we don't care if it's in the book canon or in the show canon. It doesn't matter. We're on board with your show. We're on board. We're going to watch the show.
We're already here trying to watch and wait and see if it gets better and to see what level of engagement we want to continue to bring with it. So why not just say, yes, this is a character from, the Southlands, the far horrid waste.
That's all
This is a character from the northern wastes near Erebor. This will be a character from Lindon, the kingdom where the High King of the Noldor already is.
It could be even more general. It could be even more general than that. It could be this character meets up with our heroes in a pub somewhere along their journey. like Bill Ferny does. Like, there's just so much. Cliff, I've got some other great news.
Okay, yes, bring it.
This is great news to me, and I want your reaction.
Okay.
Folks, Jennifer Hutchison has confirmed that she is on set in England for the first time since before COVID. And she says, I didn't realize how much I miss it. Being with the crew and the cast and making your words come to life is the best time. Cliff, is this a good sign?
Well, let's just say that maybe it's very fundamentally different from what happened in season 1, where none of the top brass were able to go into New Zealand because of COVID travel restrictions, and they were very severe. Nobody could go in or out. So now that the top brass and the executives...
Writing brass, specifically. The top writing brass.
The top writing brass. Well, yeah, of course. But wow, I'm really into that. I'm into that, and I think it's cool to have the top writers be able to be there more on set. And the other people from the studio getting more involved, it means that we might be seeing a different kind of product come out of season 2. We might actually see something different. Because look, there's more on-hand supervision going on. So
do you think season 1 suffered because there were no writers, 0 writers in New Zealand when they they were forced to recast Celebrimbor and reimagine his whole character arc?
Oh, of course. Of course. Imagine the organic quality of creating things with your writers team when they're all there in the same room, and then something happens on the day of a shoot and they can work on new material overnight and send it in to the actors first thing in the morning and be ready to go with a whole new approach. But that kind of organic involvement comes from having boots on the ground and people literally right there in the mix. That's the only way I believe that you can create and capitalize on that kind of creativity, that kind of dynamism within the creative part of the group. Really.
Dan Edwards asks, too many chefs in the kitchen? I don't think so. Television is a beast that requires a lot of writers. It just is. Television requires a group think. And Jennifer Hutchison, who hails from Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad, she is the senior writer on the show. She is personally my most exciting writer on the show. She is the only woman credited on season 1, even though half the writers' room were women. She's the only woman credited on season 1 writing. She is, if not a senior, the senior writer, just below the showrunners themselves. And on television, the pecking order is showrunners, writers, directors, in that order. So writers have a lot of power. Writers need to be on set. So if something isn't working, the writer can get writing, because they have the whole show noodling in their head. Every storyline, every plot line, every character development, it's all in their head. Yeah. So I am very encouraged that Jennifer,
I would say so,
is there. And I have to believe that a lot of the issues we had with season 1 is because they just didn't have the writers there, and New Zealand locked down, and they had to totally recast and rethink an entire character. An important character like Celebrimbor, which we'll talk about a little later in the show, because we have brand new set photos and a huge scoop for you.
Yes,
just wait for it. But Cliff, the chat room, since we went live, the chat room has been gossiping, and waiting for this new conversation. Breaking news this week.
Guy. And that lawsuit. Oh gosh. You know what? I need to go get myself a drink from the fridge, because this is a real whopper of somebody's ego gone way, way too far. This is so ridiculous. I saw this reported by Fellowship of Fans, and then it started to circulate through with a lot of other Tolkien news conduits online. And it was just a few days ago that people were tweeting and making fun of the ridiculousness of this author who very precociously, presumed to take it upon himself to write this massive multi-book sequel series after the War of the Ring, thinking that he could do it and do it better and capitalize on it, all of it unauthorized from the estate. Every word that he wrote and was evidently trying to sell his books online was completely unauthorized by the Tolkien estate. What do you think is going to happen now?
Well,
Because
we found
there's another weird fold, another weirder piece of the drama that just unfolded today. Justin, tell the folks at home about this.
All right. Well, this Fellowship of the King book by Demetrius Polychron, as you can see, was available on Amazon Kindle edition. Right. We did the sleuths in our Discord found that he had actually been copyrighted by the Tolkien estate, DMCA'd on the Facebook. So he has received absolute copyright claims for the last year or so, or whenever this was published, from Facebook and other platforms. But here he is. The book is on thing, and the new news is that this is California case docket number 2023-02831, Demetrius Polychron versus Jeff Bezos, Jennifer Salke, Simon Tolkien, Patrick McKay, John Payne, Amazon Studios, Amazon Content Services, the Tolkien Estate, the Tolkien Estate Limited, and the Tolkien Trust have all been sued.
Laughing so hard. This is so crazy. So crazy. So not only does this guy have the sheer hubris to put out a book that he thinks is going to be a successful sequel to The Lord of the Rings, and then he decides, because he gets called out on it, that he's going to start a ridiculous and frivolous lawsuit against the production company of The Rings of Power. What for?
So
what is the ultimate logic behind this bozo?
Let's break all this down, Cliff. So first off,
let's break this down, please. It's crazy.
As you introduced with this guy, this guy has written an unauthorized, unofficial sequel to Return of the King. It's based after the Return of the King, but uses story elements from the Second Age to tell his story, just kind of like in flashbacks of history, right? Totally unauthorized, totally illegal, and it shouldn't be for sale anywhere, let alone Amazon. This is the very definition of fan fiction. And I know people want to say that Amazon's show is fan fiction. Well, so was Arwen's.
No. The real definition of fan...
It's not.
Hold on. The real definition of fan fiction is that it's just made available non-commercially.
Non-commercially.
Not for any commercial sale, and not in any way intended to impinge on the copyright holder's original creation or literature. Fan fiction is supposed to be there just for casual enjoyment, free, kind of like the guys who made that wonderful fan movie, The Hunt for Gollum.
And Born of Hope.
And Born of Hope. Those were not commercial things.
You cannot
done for
sell
the love
anything.
Of it. You can't sell anything. Not based on those
characters. You can spend all the money you
stories.
want on your fandom, but you cannot make money on fandom. Period.
It's crazy pants. So this lawsuit is the most laughable. I'm just laughing. I'm laughing.
Well,
Can't you see that smile on my face?
So first, he's sued Jeff Bezos, which Jeff Bezos is not even the executive of Amazon anymore. Remember, he retired a little over a year ago. Jennifer Salke did not even sign the deal. Remember, she is a studio executive that came in after the Tolkien deal was done with Amazon. Simon Tolkien is the family member that is involved in the show. Patrick and John are the showrunners of the show. Amazon Studios, Amazon Content Services is the technical company that streams the show. They have nothing to do with the creative. So he's 50-50 already. The Tolkien estate, which has its own thing. The Tolkien Estate Limited is the legal entity that does charitable givings. So he actually sued the part of the Tolkien estate that makes charity donations.
Isn't that a sign of what a dum-dum he really is?
All right, moving on. This is a sample.
I thought his pseudonym, maybe his author's pseudonym, was a pretty good sign of what a dum-dum he was.
And thank you to everybody. Thank you to Tolkien Guide on Twitter. If you're not following Tolkien Guide, great follow. But thanks to Tolkien Guide on Twitter and everybody in our Discord for hunting down the case law. I don't know how these people get all this thing. So this is actually his claims. This is part of his claims of why he's filing a copyright suit, because in minute 5 of Rings of Power, episode 1, a dragon destroys a great eagle in flames, and he says the exact image of the cover of his book.
Oh my gosh!
So that's just the first thing. He goes on to claiming that refugees who survived the War of the Wrath. He claims that mentioning the War of the Wrath gives him copyright of the War of the Wrath versus Amazon's Rings of Power. Again, this book came out in 2017, so he's saying 5 years ago. He says, Feanor's hammer on an elevated display is similar to his book description of a hammer sat on an elevated and ornate anvil. Again, I should remind you that when we see Feanor's hammer in Brimby's study, it is not on an anvil, but whatever. What are technicalities here? Appearance of Durin's wife. He had named Durin and his beautiful queen Mirkanimid. He just says that because his book created Durin and his wife, that Amazon owes him money for having a first appearance of Durin's wife and children. That is just a sample. This is a sample of his writing style. Quote, mortally wounded, Isildur dropped his short sword and fell into the water, still invisible, still wearing Olaihen. Glorfindel slew the last of the orcs wantonly. Oh, how he hated orcs! Then he extended his senses, calling to the ring. Trembling in anticipation, he was almost overcome by his dark desire for the one. That is a sample from this obviously copyrightable story. He says, in November 27, the writer claims he sent a letter to Tolkien's grandson explaining his love of Lord of the Rings books and told him about his book. Polychron, who filed the lawsuit, claimed he asked if Tolkien's relative would review his book. He received no response.
Of course he received no response. Look, people, you don't send unsolicited junk to... Look, okay, when Gene Roddenberry was alive, people were sending him unsolicited, crappy scripts for Star Trek for decades. Leave the man alone. You know, Professor Tolkien has long since departed this world, and now these bozos are trying to unsolicited send in these crazy pieces of fan fiction and then think that they somehow have some kind of a righteous claim to the publisher's attention, to the family estate's attention. They don't need to get any attention. I mean, how do you think the family feels directly about protecting the legacy of their father's and grandfather's work? I'll tell you how they feel. They're almost draconian in their protection and their protective attitudes about the historical value, the cultural and academic value of Professor Tolkien's literary body of works, which is far, far beyond the arena of, just book sales or a pop culture item. This is something else entirely. And it is absurd, right on the surface of it, that anybody would think they could send unsolicited manuscripts to the family that is trying to protect his literary legacy in a very, very academic and specific way. And you're just walking in saying, "Oh, look what I wrote on a napkin. It's a couple of bullet points that I think is going to make a great
he wrote a whole book. Cliff,
blah, blah,
this
blah.
isn't a napkin. He wrote a whole book and self-published
well
it,
have.
available on Amazon. First off, that's illegal, right? You cannot write, and I wouldn't even recommend fan fictions. You just can't. We know how protective the Tolkien family are of their fathers and grandfathers and great grandfathers and great uncles' stories. So
Yes.
you don't send a copy of your fan fiction illegal book to the copyright holders. It's basically walking into a police station saying, "Hey, I just stole this. Now he wants it back. The store owner wants it back. I need to follow the suit." What is this guy doing?
It's so funny.
The problem is now the Tolkien estate, who uses their vast wealth for many charitable things. They support Alzheimer Research UK, BirdLife International, Children on the Edge, refugees, Road to Recovery. I mean, the Tolkien family supports many, many charities close to every member of the family's heart.
Yeah.
And now they have to spend some budget. They have to spend some money fighting a lawsuit in California, where they don't have any jurisdiction. They don't even have an office here.
I would love for there to be an episode of Discovery in this case, right before it gets thrown out, just so that we can find out who this guy is. The guy behind the stupid pseudonym. I'd like to know who this person is so that we can make a laughing stock of him and just laugh at his expense. Really? That's really all it's worth. But then again, you do make an interesting point, Justin, about the unnecessary waste of time and resources. Maybe there's time for more critical commentary on this another day. But here in America, we are such a litigious, ridiculously, absurdly litigious society.
Well,
you can
Cliff,
just sue anybody
you
for
asked for
any
it.
flimsy reason.
I don't agree with
Cliff,
all
you
of
asked
it.
for it. This
But
is
today I'd like to
the guy.
address a couple of points
No.
that I do
Really?
agree with. The first is that in his books,
Okay.
they tended not to be
Oh, Lord help me.
empowered females. Now, it's been said, and I have to agree with this also, that
The video is
there's a lot
called
of
Criticisms of Tolkien, and his first argument is against females, not women. The clinical version, the clinical term of women, females, is his first argument. I don't even want to listen to this. I just clocked that word females, which is a tell for a certain type of personality. So this is the guy. He is not hiding behind a pseudonym. He has got 2 YouTube channels where he is talking about criticisms of Tolkien. That's the name of this video, Criticisms of Tolkien.
Well, that's
We're
okay.
done. I'm not going to show his face
You know
anymore.
what? You
Cliff,
can-
you
you
asked
can-
for it. There he is.
Oh, that's so funny. Now I know what to avoid, I guess. But why would anyone think in a sensical, common sense way? Maybe he's lacking plain hobbit sense, which is a quality that is, remarkable to have. Why would you think that you could go from doing a few academic conversations on YouTube and doing some critical, videos about the lore and the contents of the book? Why would you jump from making YouTube content to imposing yourself as the next guy to write Tolkien? Why would you impose yourself?
And then
Why
send
would you
it to the
impose yourself?
family. And then send it to the family and then claim copyright.
Yeah,
on-
and then even first of all, Why would you bother the family with unsolicited junk and then try this ham-fisted attempt at a frivolous lawsuit later on? Do you know what?
Well,
Grift. Let me just put it this way: grifter's gonna grift.
Right. Well, let's put a button on this because we've got so much more show, and we've got so much to talk about.
Yes, we do.
Not just Green Dragon gossip for Rings of Power Season 2. We've got a lot that was revealed this last week. But my final point, my final button on this stupid lawsuit is, yes, it's frivolous. Yes, it'll get tossed out. But there is energy required to respond. All of those people, the Tolkien family, Amazon, Jeff Bezos, Jennifer Salke, everybody now has to hire a lawyer at their own dime to respond to this dude. He's getting his 5 minutes of infamy, like you guys say in the chat, but this will have a cooling factor to how Amazon interacts with anybody from the community now. Obviously, this guy likes Lord of the Rings enough that he wrote his own fan fiction sequel book. Okay?
Yeah.
No one's arguing that he's not.
You publish that on your own blog post.
But he's a real fan
for free. That's what you do.
He's a real fan. Okay, so you cannot discount him as a hater grifter. He's a real fan.
No. Okay.
The problem is,
a real fan knows how to behave.
A real fan knows how to behave, and we appreciate almost everybody in the One Ring community who know this, except for when we make Superman T-shirts, and that doesn't bode well. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you're listening, Amazon, Tolkien State, please, this guy does not reflect 99.9% of fandom. Do not be scared of us. Please consider hiring fans for your TV show in all aspects, in all departments, from writing, pre-production, effects, post, visuals, visual effects, editing, sound, scoring, marketing, PR. Fans want to work on Lord of the Rings. Fans want to put their creative capacity, they want to put toward this officially. I promise you. So please do not let this guy soil any potential future with hiring fans. Don't be scared of fans who have written fan fiction. Maybe they won't put that on their resume. But I think if you're hiring any role for your show over the next 5 seasons plus spinoffs, I think a question in the interview should be, how big of a fan are you? Like, you know, when we talked to Peter Jackson and all of his crew that hired everybody, the 1,200 people that worked on Fellowship of the Ring, they said, we only hired fans as much as possible. Right. And that's the quality that you see on screen. So this dude, he's got YouTube channels. I'm not going to link to them, but you're staying on this fandom, and we should not give him any more tweets. Let's give him this one day of infamy, and let's ignore him the rest of the time. Palate cleanser, Cliff.
I got a palate cleanser for you, okay? Imagine how much energy we would be spending on the Tom Bombadil thing if only Prime Video confirmed, yes, we're going to have Tom Bombadil all over the place. Wouldn't that be great?
Well, I tell you what's also great as a palate cleanser is, Cliff, this weekend was Lloyd Owen's birthday.
Oh, yes, he did. He did have a big birthday, and congratulations to you, good sir. Anybody who makes it one more time around the sun, I have to say, good job. Well done. Well done. And
Cliff, the palate cleanser is, you can see it on screen. He showed up in our comments saying thank you.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he did. He sure did.
He's following us.
He's hanging out with the fans online. He's very cool.
So, Elendil,
you know,
my allegiance.
Some of the coolest conversations at San Diego Comic-Con were with Lloyd. I mean, he had we were all like little iron filings drawn to a magnet when we were all there conversing and talking with him at Comic-Con. He was great. He was amiable, courteous, and quite perceptive in his conversations with Matt, Nerd of the Rings, with Corey Olsen, the Tolkien professor, and myself. He was such a great guy. It was lovely to meet him. Really was.
Didn't you
You're now open
have
for
him
business and need to
read actual Tolkien poetry?
Did I? I had all of them read
Well,
Treebeard's
not all
poetry,
of them, but
I think we handed it to
he particularly.
Lloyd and also Celebrimbor. He was great. Robert Arameo was great, and Morfydd Clark. They all took a crack at it.
Let me see if I can find.
Look at this. I'm trying to. This is so funny.
You had Brimby read it, right?
Yeah.
What did he wear?
Charles Edwards.
You had Morfydd?
Yep. I have Morfydd, and I don't think Lloyd Owen read the poem.
Lloyd Owen wasn't there. Oh, wait. He was there, but he didn't read.
Nope.
You
I
had
don't think he
Gil
read the
Galad
poem.
read. Oh, yeah. You had Celebrimbor.
Yes. That's right.
Yeah, Celebrimbor was good. All right, we won't
That
bring
was
that. I guess we don't have a clip. But Cliff, you
how
know
old
who
is he
else's
now?
birthday?
How old is Lloyd Owen? Do we know how old Mr. Lloyd Owen is now?
I did
Do we
not
know?
check. And a friend never asks. Cliff, the other birthday, 62 years old this weekend, Mr. Sean Bean, the original meme king.
Wow. Sean Bean at 62? Imagine that. Wow.
One does not simply drive into Mordor is one of the original earth-shattering memes that went everywhere.
That was classic. Yes.
If you were on the internet and engaged in pop culture conversations for the last 20 years, you have seen this meme. You have absolutely seen this meme. But Cliff, the first meme with the format with the white text on the top and bottom was Sean Bean. It was this.
Yeah.
He is the original meme.
Yep, he is the ultimate meme. And that image got turned into thousands of memes. So many.
And
it's amazing.
it was genius. It was genius for Game of Thrones to cast him as the single celebrity anchor in season 1.
Yep, and to kill him off. Oop, spoilers.
Cliff,
spoilers.
What Game of Thrones did with Sean Bean in season 1, I wish Rings of Power had done. I wish Rings of Power had casted a big star to anchor the show with,
and then killed them off.
I mean, they kind of got that. They kind of got close with Lenny Henry, but Lenny Henry is not as famous as Sean Bean worldwide. Lenny Henry's a legend in England, but he's not Sean Bean famous.
Copy that. Well, it would have been interesting. We were speculating incorrectly that Russell Crowe would be thrown into the mix. That didn't happen. But, they do call that stunt casting for a reason. And a lot of people
but I feel like the show needs it.
But sometimes people find that distracting.
I think the show needs a stunt casting. I do. Not like Lizzo and Jack Black. But
now that's definitely what I mean by stunt casting.
But I mean someone like Sean Bean or Christopher Lloyd, like someone of that caliber that you can identify. I like that guy and I like what he is and I want to get lost in his character. So,
okay, I would have to think a little bit more on that because, the advantage that Robert Arameo has, the advantage that especially Owain Arthur has, people are looking at these as characters instead of looking at them as a massive marquee star name.
Would you accept Mark Hamill as Círdan?
Yeah, maybe. Gosh, maybe.
I would accept Mark Hamill or Sam Neill.
Or Sam Neill. Ooh. Okay. Ooh.
Yeah, you reading my mail?
Options. Yeah.
Okay.
I love
it
Sam
makes it makes sense. Because Círdan is a legend in his own right in the universe.
Right.
So how do you, as a filmmaker, bring that energy to a character besides shooting him low angle with the sunlight behind him? Besides lighting him well, how do you reinforce that in-universe fame to your audience? You cast someone famous.
It's like what I like Alfred Molina. Okay?
Like Brian Cox as
Brian
Helm
Cox.
Hammerhand.
Yeah.
You know, like no one's complaining about Brian Cox being Helm Hammerhand.
Right. Well, it's an animated voiceover. We're talking about someone on screen who would be like, oh, you're just staring at Russell Crowe the entire time and thinking, that's not Maximus. That's not Russell Crowe. That's whoever he's playing. You know what I mean? As an example. But, well,
I think Game of Thrones executed on it very well.
They did.
And Sean Bean was a perfect choice because look, Game of Thrones, a sword and sorcery epic, right? Sword and sandals epic. Who better to get a Lord of the Rings actor? Because Game of Thrones at the time felt like a TV version of Lord of the Rings, right? So how do we bring that over? I feel like Amazon could have done that, and they still can. They still can.
Yes,
so
they could.
But
Well,
as we said earlier,
the YouTube chat is really blowing up for Sam Neill. I mean, he's already a New Zealander. He's there working with Taika Waititi on his amazing little indie films, and I think that'd be great. Sam Neill is great. That's a great idea.
Cliff,
But-
breaking news. This is everything I love in life. Carl Urban just posted this photo with Sam Neill and
He did?
Boba Fett himself. So there is Boba Fett,
I love
Dr.
these
Alan
guys.
Grant, and
I love it.
the leader of the Rohirrim. That is
That's
a great
so cool.
photo.
That is
That
so
is
cool.
everything I love in life. Star Wars, Jurassic Park, and Lord of the Rings. Boy, I want all of those actors in Lord of the Rings. If it has to be Rings of Power, please. Katie in the chat room says, "Oh dear God, I think I just passed out seeing this photo. How does one process this? This is exactly what I'm saying. I am freaking out right now. Jurassic Park is my favorite movie of all time. Lord of the Rings might be second, and Star Wars is third. In that order, this is everything I love in life.
It's
Look
great.
at that man. Look at Sam Neill right there. Tell me that you don't see Círdan the shipwright.
love it.
I would love it.
But you know what? Maybe they've already done cast the role, and maybe they've been filming weeks and weeks with Círdan.
As we
already.
learned from Celebrimbor, they can recast and replace. So, Cliff, we've got
really funny.
we got a bunch of news about Rings of Power season 2. Should we start with?
Yes. The
Let's
answer is
start.
yes.
All right, let's start. All right. First off,
Absolutely. Let's
the
start.
Cannes Film Festival, not the official Cannes, but a smaller television version of Cannes, has awarded Morfydd Clark with an award for Best Upcoming Talent. I forget the actual name of it because
Best
it's French.
up and comer. Yeah, that's cool.
So Morfydd Clark escaped the clutches of this production of Rings of Power for a weekend to go to Cannes. And she gave a wonderful speech, and she did a lot of press, Cliff. And of course, the press was asking. Morfydd Clark says, "What can you tell us about season 2 of Rings of Power?" She says, "Nothing, except that is it exciting. I'm too afraid to accidentally let out a spoiler. It's prodigious to be able to reconnect with your character and your playing partners."
That's
She says,
excellent.
"One of the most surreal moments of season 2 of Rings of Power was the passage of Prince William on our sets. It's amazing to think that this public figure is a fan of our work. We even chatted in Welsh.
Oh, wow. How cool. How
Cliff,
cool.
That's kind of a big deal. Prince William
Yes, it is.
chatting
Cool.
Welsh with Galadriel.
You know, it is one of the strangest remaining living languages on Earth. Remember how it went viral when that weatherman was able to pronounce the temperature in Wales at that town that had 25 syllables in the word? And he said it effortlessly in like 2 seconds. Remember that?
This is a royal visit, though.
But I'm talking about how it's a royal visit, but the fact that people are still walking and talking in Welsh is remarkable to me.
And Tolkien loved the language itself.
He did, yeah. It's very, very cool. Well, you know, that is so cool. He actually came by to visit the set. Does that mean they've opened up the set for visits? Can we go for a set visit now?
Only to Prince William.
Okay.
Looking back, how do you view Galadriel's trajectory? This is a wonderful way of positioning the question of what do you think of everybody hating evil Galadriel or, warrior Galadriel.
Right.
And she says, it's soothing to know that no matter her sadness, her loneliness, that entirely consumes her soul and obliterates the rest in the first season, to which is added Halbrand's betrayal, she will overcome these trials. For the immortal beings that are the elves, time is different. We can be separated for entire lives and find ourselves like Galadriel and her husband Celeborn, for the moment missing. That's what I love about fantasy. Through magic,
the moment missing.
So she's trying to clean up the mess that the writers made on the first thing. So good on her.
Yeah, you see the way she's dancing around that? That's kind of funny.
We'll have audio clips of her interview next week. But Morfydd goes on basically to say that explain how she got cast, that she had to screen test. We talked about this a little on the show last week. She had to have a chemistry screen test with Charlie, Vickers, who played Halbrand.
Yes.
So when you have a chemistry screen test, that only means one thing. Period.
Chemistry together. Yes.
Period. Right?
Oh, dear. Yes.
Never in your life did you think Galadriel and Sauron were supposed to have chemistry.
Oh, never. In fact, they're not supposed to have. Let's just go right out and say it, so our audience understands this. In the mind of Professor Tolkien, and the way it's written in the books, they were not supposed to have chemistry. That's it.
Well, as I've been saying for the last 4 years, I wanted that chemistry. And in fact, someone asked Charlie Vickers himself, how about that chemistry? Have you heard of shipping? And Charlie Vickers says, shipping, by the way, is actually a word that Morfydd taught me. Hopefully people will see that any kind of romantic feeling which couldn't exist vanishes into thin air. So,
oh dear.
And in Morfydd's interview, she actually says that Charlie, the actor, pulled away from the romantic overtones and undertones of the character, which makes me think that Charlie, during the 3-month lockdown, dived into the text, dived into the books, realized the character he was supposed to be playing. And I think Charlie basically said, I am not going to have chemistry with this character. I'm not going to make chemistry. I don't care what they cast me. I think Charlie is the one that put the kibosh on Galadriel.
Maybe. Wouldn't that be interesting? Wouldn't it be great to talk to him on camera and confirm that he did?
I don't think they'll ever let us near Charlie.
I want to talk to him. No, I want to talk to him.
I do too.
I want to talk to him. Okay. What if he did? What if it was like, there was a moment when Liv Tyler approached Philippa and Fran and Peter Jackson and said, I really shouldn't be here at Helm's Deep, should I? That did happen. There's a famous photograph of them debating over a table on the exterior set at the Helm's Deep location in the Upper Hutt outside of Wellington, where they were at a mining quarry, shooting in a big old quarry where they had constructed a huge Helm's Deep set that would later be converted to Minas Tirith after they did all the Two Towers shots. But she's in that picture, like hammering out script notes with Peter and Fran and Philippa. And I think there was a lot of push and pull between Liv Tyler and the triad of Philippa Boyens and Fran Walsh and Peter Jackson. And then they decided, maybe you're right, Liv. Maybe Arwen really should not be here at Helm's Deep. And they changed it.
That just goes to show that you can listen to your actors. And some of the stuff we heard about the directors on Rings of Power said they were not really open to hearing what actors have to say about their characters. We've heard complaints that the directors on Rings of Power were just like, we're here to shoot the script. Just
the script.
And sometimes the actors know the characters better than anyone at some point. At some point. That's right. So again, this is why it's really good that Jennifer Hutchinson and the writers might be on set.
Yeah.
It's really good. I can't overemphasize how great it is for us, the fans, that the writers are on set.
Well, I guess the results will, the proof will be in the pudding in season 2. Speaking of, don't we have some photos of the sets?
Before that, we have more actors are talking. Deadline had a huge conference this weekend and invited Bear McCreary, Ramsey Avery, and Sophia Nomvete to join.
Nomvete.
And Nomvete. And of course, our friend Chelsea, who used to co-host the show with you sometimes, was there, front row. Look at this photo she took of Bear McCreary himself sitting right next to Ramsey Avery.
Wow.
But Sophia says season 2 is going beautifully. She says there's more of everything. There is more of everything. What does that mean? She says the character audiences will have come to know to navigate the arrival of Sauron. How does every single world navigate this time, his reign, and his force?
Right.
That's what Sophia is saying about season 2. How does every single land in Middle Earth navigate Sauron's time, his reign, and his force? She says it's absolutely mind-blowing. I hope I'm allowed to say this, but it's so desperately exciting. This is huge. And Cliff, doesn't this align with what we've been telling people, which is season 2 is Sauron's story, starting from how he began all the way to where he's at? Like, we've been telling you for months now, season 2 was Sauron's story. And this only reinforces Sophia basically saying, how does every single world in Middle Earth navigate Sauron's time, his reign, and his force? Mind-blowing.
That really does clue us in that, like in many fantasy and science fiction stories, it's the antagonist who's really driving things along. People like to talk about Star Wars, the original trilogy, as being about Luke Skywalker. Not so much. It's really Anakin's story. It's really a Darth Vader's story. So much of it. And the prequels proved that was true. That the story was really about Anakin. So yeah.
Cliff, the final thing before we get to our set photos, I want your reaction. Cliff, how well do you know Shakespeare?
Oh, I know Shakespeare very well.
Do you know Macbeth?
Yes. And of course, Sophia Nomvete was making some references to the famous character Lady Macbeth when she was in that interview. It's really an interesting connection. She is suggesting, because of this analogy being made to a Shakespearean character, she's trying to tell us that the Lady Macbeth connection for Princess Disa means that machinations against the king are probably in the works, because Lady Macbeth was the one who motivated her husband into great warfare, into great troubles, and into great tragedy. And she pushed him, and she pushed him, and she manipulated and got what she wanted, but Macbeth and others paid the price. And Lady Macbeth is such a fascinating character. Imagine her, just by using a loose analogy, giving us massive insight that her character, Princess Disa, might be involved in pushing or manipulating her husband to go against the wishes of the king, or maybe the other dwarven lords. Maybe this is going to get pretty weird. And you know what I suddenly thought of? What if Princess Disa is offered one of the 7 dwarven rings of power? What if that happens? It sounds really intriguing. File this under very interesting. Really. It really is.
How do you feel about the analogy to Lady Macbeth? Does Shakespeare have any role in Tolkien's Legendarium?
Why not? Why not? I mean, there are star-crossed lovers in J.R.R. Tolkien, as much as there certainly are in Shakespeare. There are characters who receive weird visions from the gods and goddesses. It happens to Cymbeline. It happens to Prospero. It happens to, obviously, in A Midsummer Night's Dream. It happens left and right. There's so many moments where mortals are being influenced by other angelic or powerful beings that are not of this earth. And, every now and then, there's a classic Shakespeare trope of a character who really desires to do well and ends up doing very badly, and vice versa. So, sure, absolutely, why not?
The chat room says, is Lady Macbeth the OG gold digger?
Maybe, but maybe it's more that she's the OG. Lady Macbeth is the OG puppet master. I think that's the phrase. The puppet master doing psychological games and motivations for the character in the foreground who's just being pushed along by those manipulations. Think more like Angela Lansbury in the original black and white film, The Manchurian Candidate, with Frank Sinatra. Think about that evil, manipulative character that Angela Lansbury played in The Manchurian Candidate. I think that's pretty intriguing. And that might be somewhere on the spot of where, maybe that's what she's wanting us to think in describing her character that way, with the shades of Lady Macbeth.
I personally am excited about the
Thank you,
allusions
Tolkien Wonder.
to Shakespeare, the dwarves playing out a Shakespearean tragedy.
I'd love it. It should be. It should be a tragedy with the fate, the terrible fate of those individuals who accept the gifts from Anatar. If they accept those rings of power, then it will be a tragedy that comes to them left and right. And of course, it's tragic about all the elves and Celebrimbor suffering in Eregion during the War of the Elves and Sauron. But there's even more tragedy coming in Numenor. Do you know what? I would venture to say, because we've said this before at some of our big Comic-Con panel presentations, the stuff that happens at the end of this story, Rings of Power, is as ugly, traumatic, horrific, and deeply, deeply tragic as it could ever get, with the exception of some of the Silmarillion and its darker stories. But we've been warning the audience for years that things are going to get very ugly and very dark in the Rings of Power.
Well, speaking of ugly and dark, we hinted at what we're about to talk about last week, and I should give everybody a warning from here on out. This is Green Dragon gossip. We have photos from the set, we have implications, and basically, this is a spoiler. If you really don't want to know how season 2 is going to go, we can infer a lot about what we're about to see.
Yes,
and so
we can.
Basically, spoiler warning for the ultimate ending of season 2. If you don't want to know what the big ending is going to be, 2-episode epic battle at the end of the season.
I was just
2
referring to
hour...
it. It's called the War of the Elves and Sauron. I was just referring to it. The War of the Elves and Sauron. That's what it's called.
Of season 2?
Well, it's what happens in Eregion after the magic rings are made, and Sauron comes back with his armies all pissed off.
So that's what
No
we're saying.
longer
Is
as
that
Anatar.
season 2 ends. So spoiler warning. All right. So we've got these photos, Cliff.
Okay.
Again, Buttersteep Forest. Someone snuck onto the set. They are shooting in the Buttersteep Forest.
Oh gosh, here we go.
So right along a forest line, you can see catapults there. Primitive versions of catapults compared to what we see in Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, which we just saw in theaters. So, Cliff, let me give you some context. At the top here is Bray Studios. That's near Windsor Castle. Speaking of Prince William, Prince William owns Windsor Castle.
Yes.
He is a Windsor. So Bray, they're shooting at Bray. So literally when they said Prince William visited the set, all he literally had to do was drive down the street 5 minutes and he was on set.
It's literally around the corner from him.
So
really?
So yeah. So Bray Studios, and then where they're filming now in Swinley Forest is about 23 minutes away. So it's about a 23-minute drive further down.
Oh, that's okay. That's still rather close. Yes.
So it makes sense that the dude that has the drone footage of Bray Studios that keeps leaking, all he did was drive 25 minutes on a Sunday afternoon to get to the forest shoot. And here we go. Yakadoodle123 here on Reddit posted these photos of catapults, and then here we go. Boy, oh boy, look at that. You can see the production trucks. Yes. You can see which way they will be filming. Yeah. They will be filming toward us, toward where this shot is taken, right? You can see on the left there's a bridge with a castle. So it looks like there's a drawbridge on the left. Let's go full screen. Yeah. So let's go for a close up on that bridge. Again, you can kind of tell they're going to be shooting forward in the muddy area. You can see there's a bridge with a blue screen, so you probably picture that they're going to have some set extensions there. Here's more of the main wall. They probably have not finished building up the green screen or the blue screens. You can see that they will have set extensions on top of these verticals, these towers.
Ooh, wow.
Which we've always speculated that they don't build the elvish towers of Eregion because they don't want to spoil that it's Eregion, but it's quite obvious where it is. There is a lot on the ground there. Those are all dead bodies on the ground.
Yeah, that's a lot. Dead bodies. Big battle.
That's the production.
And no one at all is asking, are these pics of Ost in Ethil? And the thing is, they might be sharing the set to include Eregion and also the adjacent city, the city of Ost in Ethil. However, nobody in season 1 said there was a difference. Did they? Was there a graphic over the big wide shot of Eregion that said it was Ost in Ithil? I don't think it did. So
Trebuchets.
maybe we
That's what
have
I
yet
meant.
to have this introduced.
Uh,
Maybe
s-
the city of Ost in Ithil will be introduced in season 2, but maybe not.
if you want to see a boat, there's a boat at the bottom right.
Yeah.
You can see where the One Ring logo is. Right above that is the edge of a boat. I believe this might be flooded for a scene. These are trebuchets. Thank you for the correction in the chat room. These are trebuchets, not catapults. Let's see what else. Where else? So if we zoom in on some of the things, again, the folks on Discord and Twitter and Reddit have been crazy. That is the flag of Eregion.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Wow.
That is the flag of Eregion, and that is the flag of Sauron. Is it not?
I would like to add that if they're going to show the sack and the destruction of Eregion at the hands of Sauron's orcs and his forces, one should remember that reinforcements came from Gil-galad and Elrond, who was also leading elvish forces to try to aid in the defense of Celebrimbor. During this incredible military conflict, the orcs and Sauron, all of them, really outnumbered poor Elrond, and so suddenly help had to come from somewhere else, and it came from the dwarves of Khazad-dûm, and other elves who were also there, mentioned in the books, from Lorient, led by Amroth, and they attacked Sauron's rear guard. And it's kind of interesting that without all those extra elves being added into it, maybe the showrunners will show Celebrimbor and all the elven smiths being attacked in Eregion, and maybe they'll show Elrond and Gil-galad trying to come to their aid and being outnumbered by the orcs. And wouldn't it be really rousing, a big climactic moment where instead of Rohan showing up at the last minute to help Minas Tirith, it would be the dwarves of Khazad-dûm showing up last minute to help Eregion. But Celebrimbor is very brave and fearless and defending the city and everyone, but it doesn't work out so great for him. Big spoilers. But I want to add this extra thought to this conversation. At the moment when things get really, really, really bad, the dwarves retreat back into Khazad-dûm. Certain survivors escape and go through Khazad-dûm. A lot of the elves escape and go up north to an area where Elrond would later found Rivendell. And some of them escape into Khazad-dûm, where the doors are shut. The big gate, that big Moria gate, might be constructed. Maybe during season 2, we will get to see the construction of the new West Gate of Moria, with the beautiful carvings by Narvi, the dwarf who was a friend of Celebrimbor, and maybe we'll see that amazing gate created in season 2, and then at the end of the season, maybe we will see it shut and firmly closed against the forces of Sauron. I'm intrigued by all of this. I really, really am intrigued. What do you think?
Reminder that this is what the establishing shot of Eregion was in season 1 of Rings of Power. As you can see, it is built along a lake or a river.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you can see there are 2 bridges over there. And Cliff, you remember what was it, a week ago? We showed you destruction photos of this actual statue that they shot in Bray. They've now destroyed this set. People were asking, why do we think this character, this statue, is a Feanor? Because those are Silmarils around him. Those are 3 Silmarils around him with a pointed star. And remember, there are photos of this statue destroyed and fallen, and his ring arm, his jewel arm, broken and stolen. So we know that Eregion gets sacked, and these latest photos that we've been showing are are just another further example of another part of Eregion. Why do I think this is going to be water flooded? Because look, they've already flooded it. It is muddy in front where it's not muddy where the trucks are. I believe this will be shallow water. So you will be able to see, these dead bodies visible from underwater. And then you have the drawbridge. And Cliff, your reaction to this tweet, let me bring it up. Ophelia on Twitter says, "We are really going to see Sauron grapple Celebrimbor against these very steps with Bear McCreary's soundtrack in the background."
Yep, that's right. It's going to be so interesting. Well,
these very steps. What do you mean? What happens to Celebrimbor on these steps? Why is he on these steps?
Because he's battling to defend the entry, and then he gets shot full of orc arrows, and then they chop off a couple of his limbs, and they stick his body up on a pike, and they raise up his corpse as a banner, and then they go and attack Elrond and his forces with, instead of a flag, but with Celebrimbor's dead body being hoisted aloft as a banner. It's so cruel, so cruel, so very cruel.
So, Cliff, is this...
I wonder if they're going to show that gross stuff in a family-friendly TV show.
I
really wonder if they're going to do that.
I think they should. I think they need to.
Yeah.
So this further supports our conversation with Matt Nerd of the Rings last week, Cliff. Does this confirm for you that the fall of Eregion is happening this season?
Yep, it is. You're looking at it. You're looking at it now. Sorry for the spoilers, but before we got into this segment of the show, we did warn you. What you're looking at is the sack of Eregion.
Is this an accelerated timeline for you, or are you okay with season 2 ending with a 2-episode sack of Eregion?
It needs to be mentioned that there's 9 more rings and 7 more rings that need to be created before any of this happens.
And distributed.
No, well, maybe they're not distributed because when Celebrimbor is being held captive, he surrenders the 7. And then he surrenders the 9. Sauron comes and demands all of these rings. And Celebrimbor realizes how little value the other 7 and the 9 are compared to the 3. And the 3 he keeps secret. And Sauron presses for the information and says, "Who are the bearers of these 3 rings?" But Celebrimbor will not relent, and he pays for it with his life.
Cliff, question from the chat room. This is Eregion. Does Sauron somehow reroute this river? Do you think that's part of the play?
Oh, no, I don't know. But they rerouted a mountain lake that didn't exist just so they could get Mount Doom to explode. So you never know what they're going to do next.
This is a map, correct, Cliff? So where are we talking about Eregion? So Caradhras is the mountain, the snowy mountain that the Fellowship tried to overcome.
That map needs to be moved over to the left. All right, you see down at the very bottom? At the bottom where it says Ost in Ithil, down by the river?
Yeah.
The River Glanduin. That is the River Glanduin, and that is the city where they retreat after Eregion is destroyed. They retreat to Ost in Ithil.
So what are we talking about when we say sack of Eregion? What is sacked? Well, I mean, what is the city that we're looking at in this photo?
Well, I'm assuming, unless my memory is mistaken, but I think that Rings of Power in season 1 shows Ost and Ithil on the map. I think they show it on a title
Okay.
I think it's on a title card.
Are they so? Is Celebrimbor build his big tower, uh, metallurgy thing in Austin Ethiel?
Okay, here I'm looking at. Okay, here it is. I'm looking at the picture. This is the picture. It's called Eregion. They haven't actually named it. They show in that big wide shot that it's on the river. It's on the river Glanduin. So maybe we could assume that we've been looking at Ost and Ithil the whole time. Maybe that is the city we've been looking at the whole time, and they just didn't state it with a lower third on the screen. Maybe.
Right on. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. So that's kind of the big confirmation. You in this episode today, we've told you that the 2-episode epic battle is for the sack of Eregion, which we know who wins and who loses there.
Yes.
I will be very sad that we lose that character so soon in the story, but the story must march on. And because I really liked him.
That's right. Let me clarify. Thanks. Otaku Senpai has given us the easiest clarification that Eregion is the region of land. It is not a city. The city that was shown is Ost in Ithil, which is, and the letter OST put together in Elvish is the word city. OST, Ost. That's why our good friend Ostadan uses the Elvish name Ostadan, because it relates to man of the city. Man of the city. Get it? That's what it really translates to. So Ost and Ithil is the city that gets destroyed, and all the elves retreat to what would become the Valley of Rivendell later on. Yes, that's right. Absolutely.
All right. Well,
okay.
Time marches on. So in this episode, we've got a brand new cast member from The Witcher.
Yes.
We know that big 2-episode season finale is the sack of Eregion. We know that Charlotte is doing episode 1 and 3, and the main story of those first and third episodes is of Adar and Feanor and who knows what else. Maybe Anatar and Halbrand doing their thing. I don't think Halbrand goes away.
I think Halbrand goes away and becomes other forms of Sauron.
You think they would do that in the first episode? Basically retcon and say, you know what, throw that Halbrand character away. Like, it's Anatar and Sauron from here on out?
He might change back and forth. We might see Charlie Vickers doing Halbrand for certain characters that he wants to manipulate, and he might change to Anatar. And I'm assuming he would have to change to Anatar as a new person in form to be able to go back and continue working with Celebrimbor. It's so confusing because they made the 3 Elven Rings first, and they did it the way they did it at the end of season 1. It's just, I don't know what's going to happen.
All right, so out of everything we revealed today, Cliff, what is the most exciting to you? Is it Lady Macbeth storyline confirmed for the dwarves? Is it Galadriel? Is it Morfydd basically confirming stuff? Is it seeing these photos of the sack of Eregion? What's most exciting for you?
It's really most exciting to hear Sophia Nomvete talk about her character that way. Imagine complexities on the level of Lady Macbeth happening in the Dwarven Kingdom. That sounds really, really cool.
The chat room wants to remind us that Shakespeare's Birnam Wood was the influence that gave the Ents marching on Isengard.
Yes, it was. Yeah, absolutely.
So Tolkien himself was very much inspired by Shakespeare. And for the writers of the show to now turn that around and bring Shakespeare into the political drama of Khazad-dûm.
Works for me. It works for me. I think it'll be really cool. And yes, for the question that was asked by the Wonder of Tolkien, And hello, love your Twitter account, Wonder of Tolkien, and thanks for joining us in the chat. A new actor to play Anatar? Yes.
Yes.
Yep, a whole new actor to play Anatar.
We've been telling you that. We've been telling you that for 6 months. Stick with us, kids. We kind of know what we're talking about sometimes.
We're trying to, yeah, we just don't know how many different actors and how many different fake forms Sauron is going to yet assume. You know, here we go. We already got one named Halbrand that was never, ever, ever in the books. So they might make up a number of other unique character actors and other persons that Sauron could assume the form of, just to keep fooling people. We don't know what they're going to do.
I think these latest reveals from Morfydd on the coast of France, from Sophia here via satellite in LA, and from our intrepid drone reporter on Reddit over in the UK, it's moving the needle up. I like what I'm seeing. I like the pacing that I'm hearing. Things are looking good. And Cliff, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Secrecy sucks, and don't tell us everything, but keep us fans in the loop, because we just want to be excited about this show.
Tell us enough to whet our appetites. Yes, that's right.
Well, this has been an exciting show. Again,
it sure has.
Thank you all for joining us for that special conversation about that lawsuit. I think we gave that dude wanted his 5 minutes of fame. We gave him it this weekend.
We did.
So after today, I'm saying stop tweeting about him. Don't rage tweet. Don't quote tweet. Don't jump in the comments. Let's just pretend this guy doesn't exist.
And you know what? Don't even buy his book. Because that would give him the wrong idea.
Don't even bootleg it. Just this guy doesn't exist. All right. Don't hate tweet.
That's funny.
Don't do anything. He's done. We gave him his 5 minutes. He's done. But everything else, excited for the Gollum game.
I'm excited for the defamation lawsuit that we're going to get from him next week.
Jesus. Eru. Hey, tomorrow is your last chance. If you're in Canada and the USA, tomorrow is your last chance to see Return of the King Extended Edition on the big screen. Brand new high-def DCP theatrical version. And if you show up during the 20 or 30-minute pre-show, if you show up early, get your popcorn, sit down, you might see a trailer from theonering.net. So get your phone ready before the movie starts. Have your phone ready. Take a photo. Send it. Tag us. But this has been a great conversation. Thank you to David Legion M for setting that up and coming on the show and reporting $1.2 million in box office on Thursday, even more throughout the weekend. This is one of the biggest events Fathom has ever done, and you ringers are showing up.
So excited. I want to go back again and see it again. So excited. And thank you, Justin, for coming with us on this journey again this week on Torn Tuesday and helping us put together such an excellent show. And my acknowledgement to the wonderful audience who is so faithful coming to join us every week here on our amazing little corner of the web. Welcome back, everybody. It's been so good to have you. Now, we've got more mischief for next week, don't we? Yes, we do. And I hope maybe we can have one of our dear friends, Chelsea Schwartz, who used to be one of our co-hosts on this wonderful show.
Or maybe
maybe she can come and join us.
We'll try to get the clips. Maybe they'll have posted clips from the deadline interviews and stuff like that, because some great information from Bear McCreary, Ramsey Avery, and of course Sophia and Morfydd.
Good stuff. Yes.
So much good stuff, and it's a good time to be a ringer.
It sure is.
And I'm really excited. So,
and if you haven't done it yet, all you people here in the U.S., do your taxes. You got to do it right now. You got a few hours left.
Do it today. I hope you already did it.
Yeah. Oh,
and another tip.
Yes.
Do not drink Peeps Pepsi. Don't. It's not good.
That doesn't look good at all. No. But I got a nice refund. I got a decent refund, so I'm happy about that. Okay. Everybody, thank you again for joining us. It is now time to sign off. and to wish you well. So you guys be really kind to one another and be safe, be gentle with one another, and follow us on our socials, The One Ring Net. You take out the dot and you can follow The One Ring Net on Instagram. Join our Discord. It's fantastic. Facebook and Twitter and everywhere else. Personally, Clifford Broadway, that's me. I'm at QuickBeam2000 on Instagram and Twitter. And we'll see you guys here next week for more Crazy Pants. Lots of good stuff happening. Justin, you're the best. I just want to say that one more time. You're the best. You're the bestest. Okay, everybody. Namarie. Everyone out there in the world of the chat, it's been so great to have you guys with us. Until next week, we will be here Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific time, and we hope to see you again. Until then, take good care of yourselves, and good night, and good luck. Or better yet, buenos noches y buena suerte. Bye.
Perfect.